Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're live and we're on time. It takes me 2 minutes to get from here to LA and back and be live with you. So let's get visible. Where am I? There I am. Welcome. Welcome to the Let's Get Visible show where we talk about getting visible. And I have forgotten to tap my Zoom. So shall we take a chance and try and see if we can do Zoom? But we'll just keep on talking while I do that. So yes, I decided to do this show called Let's Get Visible because there's so few of you out there getting visible and sharing your knowledge. I have met some amazing people in my time on the internet, and some of them, they should be out there right now promoting what they do because they are very knowledgeable on what they do. I have met people who have cracked the code on how to be healthy. I've met the people who know how to do advertising, etc. I mean, there are so many amazing people out there, and they should be on camera sharing what they do. And let's see if maybe we'll get Zoom going, but for now, let me do that while I'm off camera. So I'm Jane Gardner. I work with my husband in a structural engineering firm, and I came onto the internet to help others get online. In 2016, I did a full year of Google Hangouts and got quite knowledgeable on how to broadcast and stream. And I share that, and I share those videos that I did even now. How many years is it? So 5 years since I did that. And I have 4 shows on Roku and Amazon Fire, which I add to every day. And yeah, that's who I am. So let's get started with a presentation so that I can go turn on my Zoom. So welcome. Let's get out there and let's get visible. So the question then becomes, well, why should you get visible? Well, of course, you can hide behind your slides, and even so, you'll still be somewhat visible. You'll be visible as a knowledge network, and of course, you could always be visible as your you're going to be visible as your slides and your knowledge, and your voice is going to be what people get to know, which is sometimes even better than getting to know you. But you should need to be the face of your business so that people can find you. So you need to show your face. You need to show your personality. And you need to show up on a regular basis, which is what I'm trying to do with this show. And then, of course, you need to share your knowledge, because that's why you're here. And you need to share your value such that people can come back again and again to see your training. So let's have a look at what we'll be doing on the Let's Get Visible show. So on the Let's Get Visible show, we are going to be doing a theme of storytelling. When we're doing all of this, we're going to be talking about how to connect with your customer or clients by telling stories. And we're going to be then talking about mindset. And right now we're talking about storytelling and your website and how that can be created into it. And voice and how it can be something which, of course, people recognize, just like you're recognizing mine now on the slides. But you can also have interviews that you do. You can be on YouTube with your voice now. You can have podcast on YouTube. You can podcast on iTunes and everywhere else that does podcasting. And that'll be connecting with your voice, as well as, of course, there's audiobooks that you could create with your voice. So there's plenty of ways to use your voice and get your personality and get people to know what you know as well as your value if you don't want to do your face. And then there's, of course, face. You need to get out there and get people to know you, regardless of how you feel about being on camera, and do video that are recorded. You could do a show like me where things happen and you just keep going, and people learn more about you because they see the imperfections and how you deal with it. And of course, social media is another place that you can go and have your voice and have your face, as well as, of course, speaking. People can get to know you on shows if you get interviewed, as well as on events. And then, of course, there's text. Text, it will be another one we'll talk about. We'll talk about book publishing. We'll talk about Medium first as a venue for you to talk about your values. And then, of course, we'll talk about doing in person to get visibility. You can get onto Zoom. You can do meetups. We'll talk about summits, and we'll talk about events that you can go to, as well as you can create online. And then, of course, networking, the most important one, where you get to know other people. And we will interview successful show entrepreneurs. We'll interview successful people who have gotten to figure out how to network and increase their reach so they can get more clients. As well, we'll be doing demonstrations of different tools, techniques, platforms, and trainings on being visible. And today we're talking about storytelling. We did talk about previous episodes on the different types of stories. And then we looked at how advertisers use those stories successfully to create buzz and create interest in their advertising. And today we're going to be talking about which story is most effective for your market. So, of course, it's all very well to say, well, a tragedy plot or a mystery plot is very interesting and engaging, but it may not work for you in terms of telling your stories. So, which is most effective? If a story is not about the person that you're talking to, the hearer, he or she will not listen. A great lasting story is about everyone, or it will not last. The strange and familiar is not interesting, only the deeply personal and familiar. So that's John Steinbeck of East of Eden. So the first question you have to ask yourselves is probably figuring out who your target audience is and what are they worried about, what do they want to hear about. You've probably had some ideas swarming in your head about stories you can use for your brand. The next step is to choose the story type that's most appropriate for your audience. When it comes to storytelling, it's not the story itself that determines its effectiveness. It needs to resonate with and affect your audience. In order for it to do this, you need to select the right type of stories. So you need to know your audience. So who is your target audience? So what are the values and emotions that speak the most to them? You need to understand your market's demographics, such as age, economic level, location, gender, and so on, as well as their psychographics. Psychographics includes thoughts, feelings, opinions, values, and attitudes. Attitudes and values play a very important part in storytelling. If your story is in sync with the attitudes and values of your audience, it will resonate with them. So I won't pop into the picture because I haven't set it up, so it'll probably be a lot of mess. So let me go back on camera. So what I have found from being on the internet is that I seem to resonate most with people of my age group. So there are a lot of baby boomers on the internet, and they seem to resonate with things that I talk about, as well as me resonating with things that they talk about in terms of our history, our culture, in terms of talking about the younger generation, etc. it seems to me that it is actually good for me to focus on baby boomers because we're all challenged by being an older generation. And I'll tell you a little story. And I told this to one of my what do we call that? Anyway, influencers, I guess. That basically, we, the baby boomers, do not like the word seniors because we don't feel we are seniors because of the North American culture and because we're so much healthier than they used to be in the older times. Someone like myself who is 66 feels like I'm 50. I don't feel that I am a senior. And so when someone says this ebook is great for seniors to start a business, I change that word all the time. I change it to baby boomers because I like that word better because it feels like that's sort of like a community, whereas senior citizen or seniors, the word seniors in general, does not express a good relationship with what you're doing. And I usually turn off, like my local paper usually has this, once a year they have the Senior Citizens Guide to My Town. And I turn off completely because I don't identify myself as a senior citizen. It's crazy, I suppose, but it's true. Words are really important when you're talking to your audience. So remember that when you're talking to your audience of people that you want to talk to, you need to look at their values and what they think about. It is so much easier for someone to do a meme using some of the TV shows from the 60s and 70s or the music from the 70s, referencing it and, playing off of that in terms of a story because I identify with that and I know what they're talking about, whereas someone of a younger generation may not know that musical group. For example, my husband and brother-in-law are going to a concert on Monday with Nick Lowe and Ron Sexsmith. And for a lot of the younger generation, they won't know who I'm talking about. But Nick Lowe is one of the major songwriters of the generations of the rock and roll, as well as Ron Sexsmith. So they'll really enjoy that because they like a lot of their songs. And it's just very interesting how the generations do separate. So when you're thinking about your target audience, remember to think about their psychographics as well and the culture that they grew up in and the culture connections that you can make with them in terms of them knowing who the Rolling Stones are versus someone else who doesn't know who Madonna is or something like this. So you just have to think about your target audience and think about what stories you want to tell them. So for example, this is an older ad from Coca-Cola, and it was an ad campaign that speaks to different values. So this Coca-Cola building video pans through the cross-section of a building, in cartoon format, of course, to show all the different people living in the building enjoying their daily lives and, of course, drinking Coca-Cola. The families and couple range in diversity and age, with everything from young couples with a baby to elderly retirees. See, I don't like the elderly. I don't like the retiree because I'm not retired, or the elderly word. So don't do that to me. I'm not interested. However, conspicuously absent are any LGBT couples or other non-traditional families. We can assume that is because Coca-Cola at that time considered its audience traditional. A great deal of its customer base is probably politically conservative. So this is all about your brand, deciding who you are and what your values are, and then reflecting it in your stories. On the other hand, Honeymaid's This Is Wholesome documentary series included one particular family called Dad and Papa, about a same-sex couple. Showing a same-sex family and saying this is wholesome obviously appeals to a younger, more educated, more progressive audience. We can only assume that when Coke's marketing experts determine its market values have changed, it will change as well. And of course it has. As you will probably notice, when you're doing advertising, there is a lot more of same-sex couples in the more conservative advertising, because they know, they know various things, but one of them is, of course, they are a two-income family and can spend more. Anyway, so when you're thinking about your stories, think about your target audience and what kind of stories you want to do. Think about, in order to develop your effective stories, you have to have an even deeper understanding of your audience than simply psychographics and demographics. A good way to gain this information is to ask your customers directly questions such as, why do they buy from you? Why were they looking for a product like yours? And what questions did they ask along the way? So those are some of the questions you can think about when developing your stories, and why you think that they have bought from you. And of course, that also helps for you to develop new products. So you have to think about your brand's key emotions as emotions that customers relate to. They can vary from brand to brand and niches to industry. So you have to think about the emotions when they consume your content. For example, a family restaurant is going to appeal to different emotions in its stories than a law firm or security software company. The latter two may appeal to fear or caution in telling their stories. A security company story may involve a hero conquering a monster, such as someone hacking into your computer using a special weapon, it's software, whereas a family restaurant may tell the story of a group of heroes, your family, conquering a different monster, the stress of daily life, by taking the kids out to enjoy good food and a good time. Fundraising organizations often use compassion in their stories. This is what's happening when a starving child gazes out from your television. People like to donate to a fundraising organization out of compassion. So this is the emotion that the stories of this organization would elicit. So ask yourself what your brand is going to elicit in terms of emotions. And then what kind of topics? In the same way, your stories need to trigger your audience's emotions. They also need to be based on topics that are interesting to your audience. In fact, a good way to get ideas for stories is to ask your customers what they're interested in. So you can ask by doing a survey and ask them what they'd like to see. And of course, you can also get other ideas by following the news, which we should all do anyway, by finding out what news stories or current events are the most interesting to the audience. And there may be some way you can use a news story to tell a story and an inspiration for a story. You could look at your old content and check and see what was most popular. So an old video, blog post, or info product that was popular with your audience might give you an idea for a story. You could spy on your competition and look at your competitors' content, and try to discover what's most popular. Or you could be a fly on the wall and follow your audience on online forums, social media, Facebook groups, and anywhere else they interact online, and ask questions and listen to them. You'll soon discover where their interest lies. So this is all good ideas for you to think about when you're developing your stories for your brand. So which format would resonate most with your brand? Jot down some ideas and start developing some stories that you can do and then we'll probably be talking about, after mindset, about text. Are we talking about text? No, we're talking about voice. So we're going to talk about voice next, and you could think about what stories would be great for you to resonate with, to make an ad, or to do on a podcast, or to do with your voice on a video, that kind of thing. So you need to think about, when you're doing any of this visibility stuff, you need to think about what format would be best for your audience and what will they connect with. So I hope that gives you some ideas on what you should do for creating, getting stories into your brand, into your business. And next time, I think we'll be doing mindset. So the Let's Get Visible show will be regularly scheduled every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, because I value visibility, authenticity, and consistency. So to get on the email notification list and to get tips, freebies, checklists, notifications, offers to help you grow your business by becoming visible, you can go to http://jgtips.com/lets, and you can also go to the Let's Get Visible show.com and sign up there to get the Let's Get Visible onto the list as well, so that you get notifications and you can connect with me. Next time I will turn on the Zoom. My apologies. But yeah, this is I made a actual website for the Let's Get Visible show.com, and it will also have a link on there to the Let's Go Live show, so that the shows will all be together. And then, of course, let me go and show you the Let's Go Live show. Is on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Get on the list to get notifications at https://jane-gardner.com/live. So live. For tips, freebies, checklists, notifications, and offers to help you grow your business by going live. So this is the show that will get your face onto camera and get people to know you. So just a hint, make sure you get on to the Let's Go Live show and get onto that list, and we'll be giving you some trainings on how to get live, as well as how to do something that I'm doing here, which is broadcasting with XSplit, and you can do that with open broadcasting software, and we'll go through that as well later on. So thank you for listening. This is Jane Gardner, and